What's up, everybody? Today's project on the Z is going to be removing the old broken down emission system. Now this car is a 1987. The emission system is old, some of it's not working. As you can see here, a lot of the hoses and things are cracked and rotted, missing. And quite frankly, it's going to make it easier for me to do the turbo swap just by deleting a lot of it and getting rid of the complexity that comes along with the emission system. This car is old enough, I don't think I'll have issues, and I plan on doing some tuning to it as well. I'm not going to be using this car as a daily driver. So overall, like I mentioned, the goal is to lower the complexity, and when I'm doing the turbo swap, I want this to be as easy as possible. There's already a few parts that I had to remove to get the fuel rail off. This is the EGR valve. The EGR valve was connected to the intake. This is some kind of air control valve to help on cold starts. And then there's just plumbing and other things that are connected to a bunch of other parts. Let's go ahead and look in the engine bay and go over the other stuff that I plan on removing. Some of this stuff, I don't even know what it's called, which probably isn't a good thing. I think emission systems have evolved a little bit since 1987, but this thing right here and these right here, they're both connected to the intake and the exhaust. I'll be removing those. They have some air lines that go over. I'll be getting rid of those as much as possible. Down here, this copper pipe, I'm going to be getting rid of that. The EGR system was over here on the passenger side. You can see down here that hole in the exhaust. I will be covering that up. In addition to what I showed you in the car, there's a few plates that I'm going to have to put on this intake manifold to block off where, like right here, the EGR valve was. This was connected to the EGR valve. This is where that air control valve or whatever they call it was. So I'm going to create a couple plates for those to block those off. And since I have this handy, I think I'm going to go ahead and do those first. So I bought a little 2-inch by 1/4 inch bar of aluminum that I'm going to use to make these block off plates. I cut this, and it's not going to be the most pretty thing, but it looks like it'll work. So what I plan on doing is just simply marking. So I'm just going to make a little mark in it and drill it out, and so that'll be one hole. Now just 2 more to go. So I drilled the other 2 holes. It should fit on there. I'll use those screws to screw it down, but first I'm just going to put a little gasket sealer around those, and then I'll crank it down. All right, one down, a few more to go. So I got the other 2 covers on. Now moving into the engine bay, this is the passenger side of the exhaust manifold. What we're looking at right here, this originally connected up to the EGR valve. What I've done is I've just cut that off and pinched it closed and then welded it shut. So that should work for that. I'll just have to tighten that down. Now moving on to the driver's side of the engine bay, you can see this pipe right here that I'm touching. That connects to the exhaust. I'm going to take that out. I've already disconnected that pipe from the front here, but I'm going to have to change out my entire exhaust anyways, so I'll worry about getting that out at that time. For now, I'm just going to be working on all this stuff right in here. So just to give you an idea of some of the stuff I'm working with, this is what this hose looked like in here. You couldn't see it because it was tucked away under here, but this thing is completely cracked. There's no way that this thing is operating like it should with a huge crack in it like that. If you're wanting to drive the stock vehicle, you know, in mint condition or whatever, you know, I'd probably replace it, fix it, make it like new. But because of what I'm doing and how I want to use this, I think it's just going to be a lot easier to just get rid of all this stuff. All right, so I got all this stuff removed. This was all sitting just right here by the driver's side front tire. It looks a lot cleaner without all that crap in there. If you look in there, that gives you an idea how nasty it is under those headlights. Probably should clean those out. Now all these hoses here were connected to that stuff that I just removed that was right here. So I'm going to try to pull those out as well. They go over to a canister over here on the passenger side that I think I can remove. I'm going to double check. So for this evap canister down here, for now I'm just going to take all the hoses off it, plug them, and then at some point I might have to do something with them, but for now I just want to get it out of the way. Alrighty, and there we go. So after removing that charcoal canister, there is this line here and then this hose here. I'm going to have to do something with those. I'll block them off or whatever, but like I say, I'll do that at a future time. So after the project's all completed, this is all the stuff I ended up removing off the car. I was curious how much it weighed. It was about 10.5 pounds. I know some people are looking for creative ways to reduce the weight on their car, so it might be something you consider just for that. But like I said, my main purpose for doing this is just to reduce the complexity so that when I do that turbo swap, I just imagine that I'm going to have issues and I don't want all this stuff causing problems. And so it just gets some of the complexity out of the way and should make the turbo swap a little bit easier. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. Please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking my logo and like and share the video. And as always, thanks for watching.